Welcome to Retail Management Hero. RMH is a complete point-of-sale solution that makes it easy for retailers to manage their floor sales and their back-office operations. In this video, I will demonstrate how to perform a physical inventory count in Store Manager. Stores can perform different types of physical inventory counts depending on their business needs. For example, a cycle count is a regularly scheduled inventory count for specific areas of a store or for specific types of inventory to ensure the continued accuracy of on-hand inventory numbers throughout the year. A spot count is an unscheduled inventory count of a small portion of the store's inventory to investigate discrepancies or verify the accuracy of on-hand numbers. And, as the name suggests, a full inventory count is a count of all on-hand inventory in the store. Most stores schedule a full inventory count at the end of the fiscal year so they can determine the value of their inventory for taxation purposes. Before I demonstrate how to perform a physical inventory count in Store Manager, let's talk a little bit about best practices for planning and completing physical inventory counts in stores. It is a best practice to schedule the physical inventory count during a slow retail sales period, such as late January or early February. It is also a best practice to perform the physical inventory count while the store is closed. If the store is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the store should perform the physical inventory count on the store's slowest sales day during their slowest sales hours. Another best practice is to divide the store up into zones for the inventory count, such as floors, departments, or aisles, and assign one or more employees to each zone so the inventory count can be completed faster. The zones should include storage areas on the sales floor that contain on-hand inventory, as well as display areas. Large stores may want to hire a vendor that specializes in performing physical inventory counts. These vendors use their own employees and equipment to perform the inventory count. This may be preferable to using store employees and equipment for an inventory count. Another best practice is to do some housekeeping prior to the physical inventory count. Store employees should look for stray inventory throughout the store and return it to the correct location on the sales floor for counting. Similarly, store employees should audit layaways and return any items from canceled layaways to the correct location on the sales floor for counting. Finally, the store should receive all inventory and complete all transfers. Inventory that cannot be received or transferred prior to the start of the inventory count should be excluded from the count. Okay, let's look at how to perform a physical inventory count in Store Manager. The Physical Inventory Count module in Store Manager changes the on-hand quantities of items in the store's database. For this reason, stores should limit who has access to the Physical Inventory Count module by enabling or disabling the Physical Inventory permission under Manager User Roles. Typically, the only employees who should be given this permission are the store's owner, general manager, or inventory manager. Bird Store is a fictional retail store that carries a wide range of bird supplies, such as bird food, feeders, houses, and baths, as well as bird books and bird watching equipment. The store is closed on Mondays, so on the first Monday of every month, the store's owner and general manager meet at the store and perform a cycle count of inventory in specific departments. This month, they are performing a cycle count of the water department, which includes bird baths and bird bath accessories. There are 2 count zones, an aisle and nearby display area, and a storage area at the back of the store near the receiving dock. The store's owner needs to create 2 separate count sheets, one for each zone. To do this, they click Inventory Purchasing, Physical Inventory, and New. To add items to the count sheet, the store's owner has 4 options. They can add items from a specific group, they can create a blank count sheet and add items to the sheet manually, they can add items using a filter, and they can add items that have not been counted recently. Let's look at these options in more detail. If the store's owner selects Generate for all items in the selected group, they have the option to add all items from the store's database to the count sheet. They also have the option to add items assigned to a specific department or category, or items from specific suppliers. If the store's owner selects Generate a new blank physical inventory count for manual entry, they have to manually add items to the count sheet. This can be time-consuming and can result in merge errors if the item lookup codes in the count sheet do not match the item lookup codes in the store's database. If the store's owner selects Generate for all items in the specified filter, they have to build a filter based on fields and field values to add items to the count sheet. And if they select Generate for all items with the last counted date older than the specified date, any items with a last counted date that is older than the specified date are added to the count sheet. These can be items from any department, category, or supplier. In this case, the store's owner and the general manager are performing a cycle count of inventory in a specific department, so the store's owner selects Generate for all items in the selected group and selects the water group. The store's owner also has the option to exclude inactive items from the count sheets, or to exclude inactive items if the quantity on hand equals 0. The first option excludes all inactive items. The second option excludes inactive items if the quantity on hand equals 0, but includes inactive items if the quantity on hand is a positive or negative number. The best practice is to include inactive items in the inventory count. This allows the store to count newly ordered inactive items, or to count inactive items that remain on the store shelves by accident, resulting in a more accurate inventory count for the store. The store's owner clicks OK and the count sheet is generated. They enter water-aisle in the reference number field and click Save. The store's owner creates a second count sheet by copying the first count sheet. They enter water-storage in the reference number field and click Save. The store's owner and general manager use handheld data collection scanners to count the inventory in the two count zones. At noon, they meet in the manager's office to export the data from the scanners and import it into the count sheets in Store Manager. The store's owner opens each count sheet separately and imports the data from the relevant handheld data collection scanner. They are prompted to either import the item quantities for matching items only, or to import the item quantities for both matching items and any new items. In this case, they are doing a cycle count of inventory for a specific department, so they only want to import item quantities for matching items. They are also prompted to either add the existing item quantities to any existing item quantities in the count sheet, or to overwrite the existing items in the count sheet with the imported item quantities. Since this is an initial import, they can select either option. However, if the import was the result of a recount, they would select Replace Existing Count. The store's owner can see that there are no entries with errors. They can also see the number of entries that will be updated and the number of entries that will be added. The count sheet is updated with the imported item quantities. The store's owner clicks Save and then repeats the process for the other count sheet. The next step in the process is to merge the two count sheets into a master count sheet. When the master count sheet is created, the merged count sheets are automatically deleted. In the master count sheet, the store's owner can see the combined item quantities from both count zones, the aisle zone and the storage area zone. Store Manager automatically generates a reference number for the master count sheet. The store's owner changes the reference number to the date of the cycle count and saves the change. Let's stop for a moment to look at the count date column in the master count sheet. Because Bird Store was closed while the store's owner and general manager completed the physical inventory count, the timestamp associated with the counted item quantity has no impact. This is because there were no sales taking place during the inventory count. However, if the store was open while the physical inventory count was completed, the timestamp associated with the counted item quantity could have an impact. Store Manager uses the timestamp associated with the counted item quantity to reconcile any sales that took place during the inventory count that affected the on-hand and counted quantities. To analyze the results of the physical inventory count, the store's owner clicks Calculate. They can see counted item quantities in the Counted column and the expected on-hand quantities from the store's database in the Expected column. If there is a variance between the counted quantities and the expected on-hand quantities, the difference, either positive or negative, displays in the Delta column. By default, the summary table only displays items where there is a variance between the counted quantities and the expected on-hand quantities. The store's owner can click the discrepancy button to toggle between displaying all items or only items with a variance. Similarly, by default, when there is a variance between the counted quantities and the expected on-hand quantities, items are highlighted in red text. The store's owner clicks the Highlights button to toggle the highlights on or off. If there were larger than expected variances between the counted quantities and the expected on-hand quantities, the store's owner can click Recount and recount one or more items. This may involve checking areas that were overlooked during the original inventory count, such as storefront displays, secure cases, and storage areas. Clicking Recount puts the count sheet back into an open and editable state. The store's owner reviews the count sheet carefully and is satisfied that it is accurate. To complete the cycle count, they click Commit. The Commit function, which cannot be undone, replaces the existing on-hand quantities in the store's database with the counted item quantities from the count sheet. For administrative purposes, the store's owner generates a final report of the inventory count by clicking Reports, Active Reports, expanding Physical Inventory Count, and generating either the detailed or summary reports. They use the reference number from the master count sheet to generate the report. Thank you for watching this video demonstration.